Most players think that if they want to rank up, they need to live in free play, spend hours hitting the ball around, grinding air dribbles, resetting endlessly, and somehow over time, it'll all start to pay off. But unfortunately, that's not how it works. I've been SSL for over 5 years, I've peaked number 2 globally, and I've spent the last 3 years coaching players from gold all the way to top 100. And I can tell you with complete certainty, ranking up has way less to do with mechanics than you think. In fact, I've had players go from champ 1 to grand champ without even practicing free play once. No fancy recoveries, no flip resets, none of that. Just a better understanding of how the game works. And it's not just possible, it's way more consistent than the grind and hope strategy most players follow now. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to rank up without free play, and these are the same ideas I teach in my coaching program, things that have helped hundreds of players finally break through their rank plateau, and if you apply them, you'll rank up faster than you ever did grinding mechanics. Let's be real, free play has become a safety net for most Rocket League players. It's the first thing you load up when you want to get better, but the truth is, most players are using it as a crutch. They're mindlessly flying around the field, hitting the ball for 30 minutes, thinking it's going to make them smarter, faster, and more consistent. It won't. Not by itself, at least. If you're trying to rank up and you feel stuck and your instinct is to load up free play every session, that's probably part of the problem. I've worked with a lot of players in my coaching program who said they spent hundreds of hours in free play, yet they were still hard stuck in champ or even diamond. Why? Because game sense doesn't live in free play. Positioning doesn't live in free play. Decision making doesn't live in free play. Free play is just muscle memory practice, and even then, only if you're using it intentionally. Here's the truth. You can rank up without ever touching free play. In fact, some players I coach barely use it at all and still hit grand champ or higher. Why? Because they understand where the actual ranked progress comes from. And it's not air dribbles and ceiling shots. The first shift you need to make is this. Start thinking like a student of the game, not a freestyle YouTuber. If your goal is to hit SSL, then you need to stop doing what feels flashy and start doing what actually wins games. So what does that look like? Well, the biggest key is studying real matches, your own replays, pro gameplay, and most importantly, identifying your own habits. Every coaching call we have, we start with replay analysis, not because it looks cool, but because the answers are always there. I can almost always point to a handful of moments where a player threw away pressure, double committed, missed rotation, made the wrong challenge, and not a single one of those issues could be fixed in free play. Here's a literal example of what you should be doing instead. 1. Load into a replay and just pause it after every single touch you make and just ask yourself, was this the best option I had? Was there something smarter I could have done? Would a higher ranked player have made a different choice? Most players don't do this because it's annoying. You'll see how many times you messed up, how many times you jumped when you should have waited, how many times you went for a boost instead of covering net, but that's exactly why it works, and that's exactly how you grow. The players I coach that improve the fastest are the ones who obsess over their decision making, not their half flips. They spend more time understanding the why than grinding the how. And if you think this sounds boring, let me tell you what's really boring. Being stuck in the same rank for 6 months, blaming teammates and not knowing what to fix. That's boring. Actually improving is exciting, at least to me. And it doesn't require a single second of free play if you don't want it to. So if you're serious about ranking up, here's your plan. Stop autopiloting free play sessions and instead use your playtime to analyze, reflect, refine your in-game choices, and then ask yourself if you're rotating smart. Ask if you're positioning based on where your teammates are or if you're just chasing. Ask if you're forcing plays when you should be supporting instead. Here's the truth. Most people use ranked games as a scoreboard. They queue up to test if they're good enough, not to actually get better. And that mindset right there, that's why they stay stuck. If you're just hopping into ranked trying to win, but not learning anything each match, then you're gambling with your MMR. You're not training, you're just flipping a coin. And what I tell players I coach is that treat ranked games like a classroom, not a competition. That doesn't mean you don't try to win, but it does mean that you approach each match with a specific focus. Instead of just queuing into game after game game after game with no intention. Go into it thinking, today I'm going to focus on my positioning as second man, or today I'm going to fix how I challenge the ball when rotating back. Small focused improvements stack up. You're not trying to play the perfect game, you're just trying to eliminate one mistake at a time. Think about how much more effective that is than hitting the ball in free play for 30 minutes and hoping something clicks in ranked. And here's the part no one talks about. Ranked reveals what you actually need to work on. When I review coaching replays, I always start with 2 or 3 games that the player thought were just unlucky, or they thought were their teammates' fault. And what we find every single time is never unlucky teammates, it's patterns. They're rotating too close, they're challenging when they should be shadowing, they're jumping on every 50 instead of holding their ground. And you can't see these things in free play because nothing's pressuring you. There's no teammates, no opponents, no game clock, and that's why I always say the best practice is ranked if you use it the right way. Let's talk about implementation. Every time you finish a game, you need to ask yourself 2 questions. 1, what went wrong? And 2, could I have prevented it? Most people skip this step because they want to move on to the next match, but this 2-question check-in, it's the entire reason some players improve 5 times faster than others. If every time you lose, you stop and actually think about what you could have done better, not your team, then every single loss becomes a lesson. And look, if you're at a rank like champ or below, I promise you're not losing because your teammates are bad. You are losing because your game sense hasn't caught up with your mechanics, and no amount of free play will fix that. Here's another method I teach inside my coaching program, the mental note technique. Every time you make a bad play in game, say it out loud or make a quick note of it in your head. I shouldn't have jumped there. That was a panic clear. I overcommitted when I was third man. Then after the match, write it down, build a running list of mistakes, and I promise after a week of doing this, you'll start noticing the same 3 or 4 issues showing up. Fix those and you instantly become 2 to 3 ranks better. And that's the best part of all of this. You don't need more hours, you just need to use your existing ones better. A focused hour of ranked with review and intention is more powerful than 3 hours of random games plus 30 minutes of mindless free play. By this point, we've already cut out the fluff. You know you don't need to spend hours in free play and you know how to turn ranked into actual training, but there's one piece left, and it's the one that separates the average player from the top 1%. It's mindset. And I know that word gets thrown around way too often in self-help content or fake motivational reels, but in Rocket League, mindset doesn't mean just believe in yourself or grind harder. It means making smart, intentional decisions under high pressure. It means controlling your emotions during a match. It means learning faster than the people you're playing against. And I don't say that lightly. I've coached hundreds of players, and the biggest difference between players who rank up and players who stay stuck, it's never mechanics, not a single time. It's how they think about the game. Let me give you a real example. I work with a lot of players who are stuck in champ. They've got decent mechanics, they can hit some flashy plays once out of every 10 tries, and they've been playing for years, but when we look at their replays, the issues aren't the mechanics, it's the decision making. They're panicking on defense, they're jumping too early on 50s, they're chasing plays that were never theirs to begin with, and even worse, after the match, they have no idea what they did wrong, and they end up blaming their teammate. When I say rank up without free play, I mean break the habit of mindless repetition. Stop queuing ranked games hoping things magically get better. Start thinking deliberately. Start analyzing every touch, every rotation, every decision. It's either helping you rank up or it's keeping you stuck. That's why in my coaching, I put a heavy focus on replay breakdowns, not just for me to review, but so the player learns to see patterns in their own gameplay, because once you can diagnose your own mistakes mid-game, you become your own coach, and that's when improvement explodes. Another thing I tell my players is learn to detach from ego. You're not better than your current rank, you're not unlucky every game, you're not surrounded by bots, you are exactly as good as your rank says you are, because rank is just a measure of consistency, not peak ability, consistency. And consistency doesn't come from mechanics, it comes from awareness, from smart positioning, from not chasing boost, from knowing when to dive in and when to hold. None of that is in free play, but all of it can be learned. So here's your roadmap if you want to rank up without free play. 1, use ranked as focused training, not as validation. 2, review your games, even 2 minutes of reflection is enough. 3, track recurring mistakes and fix them intentionally. 4, stop playing on autopilot mode. And 5, let go of ego and become coachable. And finally, seek help when you're stuck. This last one might sound like a plug, and it is, but it's also the fastest path forward. If you're stuck in a cycle of bad habits, it's hard to break out of it on your own. That's why I built my coaching program, to cut out the guesswork. If you want someone to personally look at your gameplay, break it down for you, and give you a clear, prioritized roadmap to SSL, I do that inside of my coaching program. And you don't need to waste another 6 months grinding and hoping you're doing the right thing. I'll just tell you what to fix. No sugarcoating, just proven advice that works. The same stuff I've used to hit SSL 12 seasons in a row, and the same stuff my clients have used to hit Grand Champ for the first time. So if you're serious about ranking up and you're done with the plateau, check the link in the description to apply. Until then, ditch the free play, train smarter, and play with purpose.